What's fatigue reaction? In this case, it is possible to have two different compounds because one is alkyl halide, the other one is aryl halide. Aromatic compound, aliphatic compound, and they have large difference in their boiling point. So they can be separated. Okay? Even if other compounds will be formed, for example, CH3 will be formed when this will combine only, or C6H5, C6H5 will be formed. But these three have substantial difference in their boiling point. So that's why Wurtz fatigue reaction is possible. Fatigue reaction, both are aryl halides. So you get only C6H5, C6H5 diphenyl. Decarboxylation, very important reaction, will be used in conversion. Okay? Not only in 11th, much more in 12th grade will be used. Okay? So normally you have acetic acid, okay? Carboxylic acid. Here is acetic acid. Acetic acid, from that you get sodium salt of that acetic acid, sodium ethanoate. You get that reacted with soda lime. NaOH plus CaO is soda lime. Caustic soda, quick lime, soda lime. So CaO, however, here reacts as catalyst. NaOH actually reacts. So you get CH2 and sodium carbonate. If you heat it, carbon dioxide is evolved. So actually you will see that carbon dioxide will evolve in this reaction. Okay? When we will consider the electrolysis of this one or two separate reaction, then carbon dioxide is mentioned. So don't get confused from where I got carbon dioxide. Actually, the reaction when done in at some temperature, okay, heat, this Na2CO3 actually gives decomposes into to give carbon dioxide. Next, coal-based electrolytic method, very important one. The alkanes produced at the anode contain even number of carbon atoms. Again, there is condition in this case, similar to the one we had in case of the Wurtz reaction. Here also we have condition that only even numbered carbon atoms can be produced, and the reason is one free radical alkyl. What is the reason? Alkyl free radical, or you can say two alkyl free radicals combine to form alkane. For example, CH3 alkyl free radical combines with CH3 itself to produce ethane. So that's why, because one free radical has to combine with other one, you can't get odd numbered hydrocarbons from this method. Okay. The reactions are important and you have to remember, sometimes it is asked that explain Kolbe's electrolytic method with reactions. These are the reactions you have to write. So first one is electrolysis. Electrolysis is with water, you get sodium acetate. So basically, or sodium ethanoate, same thing, sodium acetate or ethanoate. from acetic acid. So first you have acetic acid, from acetic acid you get sodium acetate, and then electrolysis gives you alkane, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, and NO. The mechanism sometimes is asked, you need to remember. First is ionization. First step is ionization, and that is what you will expect in electrolysis. When you dissolve a salt into water, it will get dissociated into its ions. That's what is the first step, ionization. Okay. Then this ion loses the electrons, and actually two ions are considered at the same time. The reason is because in the next step we will see that two free radicals combine to form ethane. So we need two free radicals. That's why in this reaction you will have two everywhere, two. Although it is not required, you can cancel it out, two here as well, everywhere too. The reason is we need two free radicals because these will combine, okay, together. So when it loses electrons, after that it produces free radical and carbon dioxide is escaped out. One very important point you need to remember, that whenever oxygen has 6 electrons, although you have seen it in the formal charge case, but it is good to remember it. Then it will have -1 charge. Whenever there is single bond, oxygen, 6 electrons, -1 charge. And the reason is very simple, because these 6 electrons are anyway of this one, and it has one more electron here in this bond, which is considered of this oxygen. That's why negative charge. One more electron, that's why negative charge. So here, if it is negative charge in this case, it means there are 6 electrons. And when it loses one electron, 5 remain there after losing. And because now it has lost one electron, obviously there is no negative charge. One electron was extra, that's why one negative charge. Lost it, no. But when this gets dissociated, carbon dioxide is evolved and methyl free radical is formed. Now remember, free radicals or carbocations, they do not have stand-alone existence. This is just for reaction purpose to show that the free radicals or carbocations do not exist in isolation. For carbocation, there must be some carbanion. Okay, and free radicals will not be stable; they will combine with something else. So here, free radical either can combine with itself, or free radical can combine with some other alkyl group to form another free radical, which can be more stable, but anyway that will be unstable. Can be more stable, but is still unstable. So here in this case, what happened, that one free radical, acetate free radical, converted into more stable free radical, which is methyl free radical. But this free radical is again not stable. They do not have a standalone existence. So that's why these two methyl free radicals will combine to form ethane. So this is the third step. Remember all the steps. First step, ionization. Remember. And if it is asked the mechanism of Kolbe's process, do remember just ionization, free radical, and then alkane. Formation of alkane. 3 steps you have to just remember. First step is ionization. Second step is generation of free radical. Third step is formation of alkane. So that was at anode. All these things are at anode. At cathode, what happens? The electron which was evolved from the acetate ion, this combines with water molecule and produces hydroxyl ion and hydrogen free radical. Okay. Why hydrogen is free radical here? Because in this case, when hydrogen normally has one electron, but it does not have existence. So when hydrogen has one electron and does not have a standalone existence, then it is known as free radical. Okay. So what happened here in this case, the electron actually moved to hydrogen. Normally, it should be H2O should get converted to OH minus and H plus. Normally, this should be the reaction in ionization. But because there is one electron, this electron will combine with this H plus, and now this hydrogen will have one electron. H plus means proton, it does not have any electron. So here it did not have any electrons, but after gaining electron, it created free radical. Now these free radicals combine to form hydrogen. Yes, the free radical can be of any element, not necessarily organic element, any element. So for example, similar to chlorine atom does not have existence. Cl2 exists, but free radical will be Cl minus. This will be free radical, for example, in this case. Although in few cases, and you might be surprised, Cl plus also exists. Okay, and we will see in few reactions where Cl plus can exist. So reactions you can write down, and you should write down because this question is very much popular with your teachers that explain Kolbe's process or Kolbe's mechanism. So you need to write all these reactions at cathode and anode. If the question is about the mechanism of Kolbe's electrolytic method to produce hydrocarbons or alkanes specifically. So same question, why methane cannot be prepared by Kolbe's electrolytic method? The reason is very simple. In Kolbe's electrolytic method, the free radicals combine to form alkane at anode in Kolbe's electrolytic method. Okay. Hence, as methane contains only one carbon, it cannot be produced by Kolbe's electrolytic method. When free radicals combine, there will be at least two carbons. Yes, Matt, correct. Only even numbered hydrocarbons or alkanes will be produced. Yes, Rashi, correct. Then Kolbe's electrolytic method, alkane is prepared by two alkyl free radicals. It means alkanes produced would have at least two carbon atoms. Hence, methane, which contains only one carbon atom, cannot be produced by coal-based electrolytic method. Physical properties of alkanes. C1 to C4 means alkanes having one carbon to four carbon means up to butane are gases. C5 to C17 are liquids means the hydrocarbons or alkanes having carbon 5 carbons to 17 carbons are liquids, while 18 carbons or above are waxy solids, not very hard solids. Waxy solids means they have texture like wax. Alkanes have generally low boiling point because they are waxy solids, not very hard solids, so low boiling point. Boiling point of straight chain alkanes goes on increasing with increase in carbon atoms because surface area goes on increasing. So try to understand here. What is boiling point? Boiling point is separation of molecules from one another and then conversion into gaseous phase. So first the molecules should separate from one another, molecules of the solid, and then they should have enough energy, they should receive enough energy to get converted into gaseous phase. Now this is important, separation of molecules from one another. What happens? Suppose if I am considering only ethane. Ethane will have rough structure like this, and another ethane molecule will have surface area like this. So this is just for explanation purposes. This is not actual, okay? So there is some contact surface area in this case. Okay. And whenever there is contact surface area, there are some van der Waals forces. And to separate these two molecules, we need to overcome these van der Waals forces. Now, suppose instead of ethane, I have propane, say pentane, not propane, but pentane. Now, pentane will have larger surface area and another molecule of pentane. Now, there is greater surface area of contact. So, here greater force will be required. To separate these molecules because you know that all objects attract one another. F equals to, in case of gravitation, it is G m1 m2 upon r square. You know that, okay, in physics. So this is something we are talking about as van der Waals forces. So greater the contact surface area, greater will be the force of attraction. Difficult will be to separate these molecules, means higher will be the boiling point. So that's what is written here. Alkanes have generally low boiling point, but boiling point of straight chain alkanes goes on increasing. It increases with increase in carbon atoms because surface area goes on increasing. Therefore, van der Waals forces go on increasing. We need more energy to separate these. Okay. Okay, Ashi, that's fine. Just try to understand what I have started right now, okay? Now, straight chain alkanes are termed as N-alkanes. Okay? N-alkane. So if you see anything written as N-butane, N-pentane, it means we are talking about a straight chain. So N-butane means there is no chain. It is a straight chain. N-pentane means there are five carbons in a straight chain. There is no branching. No branching. Okay. One more thing. Melting point of hydrocarbons with odd number of carbon atoms is lower than even ones because even ones can fit into crystal lattice more readily due to symmetrical structure. At this thing, we will be talking about again and again symmetry. Symmetry leads to stability. If you remember, we talked about it in case of chemical bonding as well. Okay. So what we are talking about here, if anything is symmetrical, that is more stable. So remember the phrase symmetry leads to stability. So if two molecules are even have even numbered carbon atoms, they will fit with each other well as compared to odd numbered carbon atoms. So that's why the melting point of hydrocarbons with even number of carbon atoms will be higher. So suppose we are talking about even numbered carbon atoms and odd number carbon. Okay. Now suppose I am considering this in opposite direction. The other molecule is like this. In this case, there is very less contact surface area. They can be separated very easily. They can be separated very easily in this case. Okay. And I explain it in a different way. Just if I have even, it will look like this. Just see this one here. So whenever there is something like another molecule here, there will be large gap possible in this case. However, in case of odd, this gap is less, not that much possible. Okay. The reason is that it actually fits into, normally it fits into the gaps. So even numbered carbon atoms have large gap. I'm not going into details how it happens geometrically. Okay. However, sorry, odd numbered has large gaps, even numbered has a smaller gap. So because it has a smaller gaps, there is greater contact force. Greater contact force means this is even numbered, okay? Means higher melting point. So if you are asked why even numbered carbon atoms, hydrocarbons have higher melting point, you will explain stepwise. You will say even numbered carbon atoms have symmetry. Just so you will say even numbered carbon atom hydrocarbons have greater symmetry. Odd numbered can also have symmetry, but we are talking about comparative, greater symmetry, and hence they fit well in the crystal lattice. Hence, these have greater contact force, which results in higher melting point of these hydrocarbons. Very common question, and this is the answer, complete answer. What you have to write. You have to highlight two keywords here. The symmetry, greater symmetry, so that your teacher could notice. Okay. And second one, greater contact force. Now another one, very important question here. It appears from here. Branched chain hydrocarbons have lower boiling point than straight chain hydrocarbons because they acquire a spherical shape. You will say they acquire comparatively spherical shape. Comparatively spherical shape, having minimum surface area of contact. Just try to understand why I say so. Suppose I am talking about N-pentane. It will be CH3, CH2, 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 CH3. And as I said, there will be some contact surface area. But suppose I am talking about neopentane. Neopentane will be like this. So this is one neopentane, and there is another neopentane molecule. And they are in contact with each other. Now you see the contact surface area here is much less than that of in case of N-pentane. In case of N-pentane, the contact surface area is much larger. So that's why in this case, less energy required to separate the molecules because less contact area. So if branching is there, it leads to somewhat spherical shape of the molecules and hence decreases the contact surface area. That's why it requires less energy to separate the molecules and hence boiling point decreases. So why lower boiling point in case of branched chain hydrocarbons? Less contact surface area. They can be separated easily. They will require less energy. Hydrocarbons are insoluble in polar solvents because they are non-polar. So normally the thumb rule is polar dissolve polar. Polar solvents will dissolve in polar solute. Because hydrocarbons are non-polar, that's why they are insoluble in polar solvents. But they are soluble in organic solvents like ether, carbon tetrachloride, etc. Liquid hydrocarbons themselves are good solvent for alkanes. This is important here point. Hydrocarbons, why hydrocarbons are insoluble in polar solvents? So for example, the question will be, why hydrocarbons are insoluble in water? The answer will be, the hydrocarbons being non-polar are insoluble in polar solvents like water. And don't get confused, I am talking about organic compounds. No, I am not talking about organic compounds. I am talking about hydrocarbons only. Okay. Organic compounds, for example, ethyl alcohol is soluble in water. Why? Because this is a polar molecule and water is also polar. And they form hydrogen bonding. Moreover, ethyl alcohol has hydrogen bonding, water has hydrogen bonding. When they mix, they form hydrogen bond with one another. So that's why they are soluble. So I'm not talking about all organic compounds. I am specifically talking about hydrocarbons only. Density of alkanes increases with increase in molecular mass. They are lighter than water. Not very important one, this one, but this one is important. Density of alkanes increases with increase in molecular mass. Sometimes you will get question that arrange these in increasing order of their density. Remember, density of alkanes is proportional to molecular mass. You just need to apply this simple rule. Alkanes are called paraffins because they are less reactive. Not important. Chemical properties of alkanes, these are important. Substitution reactions. During halogenation, when alkanes are treated with halogens, for example, chlorine, bromine, etc., in presence of sunlight, at elevated temperature, means higher temperature, the hydrogen atoms of alkanes are successively replaced by halogen atoms. Now remember, these are similar reactions and you will get confused, so that you need to remember the condition. When we are talking about halogenation with halogens in presence of sunlight at elevated temperature, then hydrogen atoms of alkanes are successively replaced by halogen atoms, means one by one. Although this mechanism this year is not in syllabus, but you need to understand one by one how it is, how it takes place. So for example, I am talking about hydrocarbon, simplest hydrocarbon, CH4, methane, and we get it reacted with chlorine. This is H nu is the energy. Then one hydrogen will be replaced. One hydrogen replaced, then methyl chloride produced and HCl. After that, this methyl chloride again reacts with chlorine and another hydrogen from 3, it becomes 2. Another hydrogen goes away and one chlorine is added. From one chlorine, 2 chlorines. Then again this reacts with chlorine and another hydrogen goes away from 2 to 1 and chlorine is added from 2 to 3. Then again another chlorine is added, hydrogen goes away and chlorine from 3 to 4. Carbon tetrachloride or tetrachloromethane is formed ultimately in final step. Now it is found that the rate of reaction of alkanes with halogens is like this. Means if you get fluorine reacted, then the reaction will be very fast. Fastest. Chlorine after that, okay? Second fastest. Then bromine and iodine, reaction with iodine will be least fast. Slowest means. So you need to remember these. However, based on these trends, I'll upload just one page, which if you are able to understand, that will be sufficient to answer even the questions which appear in JEE. That page is actually, I have prepared for JEE, so which I'll upload and make sure that tomorrow or day after tomorrow, you go through that particular sheet to understand the trends. That sheet contains actually all the trends that arrange these in increasing order of density, arrange these in increasing order of stability, okay, like that, or reactivity, or acidity, or basicity. Here you need to remember that reaction is fastest with fluorine, slowest with iodine. What we are talking about? We are talking about chlorination. Substitution reaction. Why substitution reaction? Because chlorine replaces hydrogen. Chlorine substitutes hydrogen, removes hydrogen and takes place of that hydrogen. That's why. Okay? This chlorine actually replaces one hydrogen, one by one, all hydrogens. That's why substitution reaction. Now, rate of replacement of hydrogen of alkanes is 3 degree, 2 degree, 1 degree. This is related to the alkane. So, for example, if I am talking about methane, methane is 1 degree hydrocarbon. Okay? But suppose I compare it with suppose I compare it with this 2 methyl propane. This is methane, and I compare it with 2 methyl propane or isobutane. Yeah. Because we have iso group, we can call it isobutane also, or 2-methylpropane. The reaction will be faster with this one because it has 2 degree. Okay. Rate of replacement of hydrogen of alkane is 3 degree, 2 degree, 1 degree. Here I have 2 degree, so that's why this will be faster. Why it will be faster? Because it is 2 degree carbon. Similarly, if there is 3 degree, that will be fastest. So remember this trend also. And there will be questions, so you have to remember. You can't skip it. The rate of replacement of hydrogen of alkanes is in the order of 3 degree fastest, then 2 degree, then 1 degree. Depending on the type of halogen, it is fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. And it is very simple because it is in the order. There is no exception. Fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. Rate of halogenation in this order. Chlorination is too violent to be controlled. Iodination is very slow and a reversible reaction. In it can be carried out in the presence of oxidizing agent like HiO3 or HNO3. Again, a question appears from here, and understand what that question is. Okay. The question is that why do we need to use HiO3 or HNO3 in halogenation or iodination of hydrocarbons or alkanes? The answer will be because iodination is very slow and a reversible reaction. this reaction in case of iodination will be CH4 plus I2 CH3I plus HI. This reaction will actually be reversible. So what happens when we add HiO3 or HNO3, it oxidizes or HNO3 into iodine. It oxidizes the Hi into iodine. Now, because Hi is not there, reversible reaction does not take place. For reaction to be reversible, Hi should be there. But because Hi is converted to I2, iodine gas, here in this case, which ultimately is solid, that's why HiO3 or HNO3 is required. H nu means heat energy. Okay. H nu, what you studied in, you know, structure of atom, H nu is energy. In chemical reactions, normally it is sunlight or heat. So remember, if you are asked the question why HiO3 or HNO3 is required in case of iodination, not required in case of chlorination, bromination, the answer is because this reaction is very slow and reversible. So the Hi, hydrogen iodide produced, is oxidized to iodine by HiO3 or HNO3. Halogenation involves free radical substitution reaction, okay, which is the mechanism is not in syllabus. So that's why we are not going to discuss this free radical substitution reaction. In 2021, this is not in syllabus, but otherwise, this is one of the very important questions which normally appears in your examination. So it has three steps: initiation, propagation, and termination, which if we have time, we will discuss after completing the syllabus. Similarly, combustion is not in syllabus this year. Okay. However, this reaction is still, I would say that you remember, this is the generic reaction for combustion of any hydrocarbon. Having said that, if you remember the generic reaction of hydrocarbon, which I asked you to remember as CXHY, this might not be required. But sometimes if it is put in this way, you might get confused. Otherwise, if you remember this one, then this is not required. If you remember the other one, I hope you remember, I asked you to remember the other one. If you remember this one, the given reaction on the screen is not required in that case. But still, if you want, it's sometimes handy to answer the question. So in this case, actually, n is x and 2n plus 2 is y. This is specifically for alkanes only. Okay, only for alkanes. But this reaction is applicable to any hydrocarbon, any hydrocarbon. And don't forget it. Very important general reaction which you need to remember. Okay? Now, combustion is not here. So now controlled oxidation. Alkanes on heating with regulated supply of dioxygen or air at high pressure and in presence of suitable catalysts give a variety of oxidation products. Okay. Now there is a confusion whether this part is in syllabus or not, because in the file or sheet which we have received, specifically it is written that the free radical mechanism and oxidation is not there. It is not written whether controlled oxidation is there or not. So that's why I'm covering this one, controlled oxidation. So alkanes on heating with regulated supply of dioxygen or air at high pressure and in presence of suitable catalysts give a variety of oxidation products. Means depending on the conditions, the products are different or are oxidation products but different. So suppose if I use copper at temperature 523 Kelvin and very high pressure, 100 atmospheric pressure, 100 times the pressure what we have normally, then methanol will be produced, alcohol will be produced. I get same methane reacted with oxygen, but now if I use molybdenum oxide, MO2O3, then aldehyde will be produced. HCHO, aldehyde will be. Now, if I use alkane with oxygen, again, but now if I use the anhydride, okay, manganese anhydride, this is called manganese anhydride, then I get acid. So depending on what conditions are there, what reagents we are using with oxygen, the products will be different. Copper 523 Kelvin, 100 atm, alcohol. Okay. Molybdenum oxide, aldehyde. Manganese anhydride, acid. So this is known as controlled oxidation. We are controlling the product based on the conditions or the reagents used along with oxygen. These reagents are not taking part in the reaction. Only oxygen is taking part in the reaction, but they are deciding the path of the reaction. Now, ordinarily alkanes resist oxidation, but alkanes having tertiary hydrogen atom can be oxidized to corresponding alcohols by potassium permanganate. So this is tertiary hydrocarbon, means CH, CH3, CH3, CH3. Why 3 degree? Because this carbon is attached to 3 carbons. So in presence of potassium permanganate, controlled oxidation takes place and alcohol is produced. Next is isomerization. Isomerization means the formula is same, only the structure changes. The structure changes. So N-alkanes isomerize to branched chain alkanes. We have N-hexane, and I already told you N means it is straight chain alkane. In presence of anhydrous AlCl3 and HCl, these isomerize. Isomerize means some part become the chain. So for example, it is like N-hexane is like this. N-hexane. There are 6 carbons, straight chain carbons. But in presence of AlCl3 HCl, one part will go in the branch. So we have now 5 carbons as main chain and one is in the branch. And another possibility is this. So only these two possibilities, because if you have carbon here, methyl group here, it is actually similar to this one. If you have like this, both are same. You have just flipped it. Right side becomes left side becomes left side, right side. So that's why these are same. The another possibility is only this. So 2-methyl pentane and 3-methyl pentane are isomers of N-hexane. Formula is same, that's why they are isomers. How branching takes place in presence of aluminum trichloride or aluminum chloride, simply we say, and HCl. We are talking about the properties of alkanes. The properties of alkanes means if we use alkane, what they can produce, okay, or what they can be converted to. Next is aromatization, very, very important reaction. And there are very few reactions where you can convert aliphatic compound into aromatic compound. Okay? Aromatic compound means those compounds which have benzene ring. The simplest form is benzene ring. There are other aromatic compounds as well. Okay? But, so aromatization is conversion of aliphatic compounds to aromatic compound. N-alkanes having 6 or more carbon atoms get dehydrogenated and cyclized. Cyclized means cycle is formed to benzene and its homologous. Okay, what are homologs? Homologs are, for example, this is benzene, then you add CH2, sorry, CH3, this is homolog. Then you have CH2, CH3, there is another homolog. CH2, CH3, another homolog. Homolog means they have difference of CH2. That's it. Difference of CH2. So when I converted it from benzene to CH3, this is not difference of CH3. There is difference of CH2 only because one hydrogen was already there, which was not written there. So it has hydrogen here everywhere on carbons, which are not written. Hydrogen was already there. When I write it as CH3, there is difference of CH2 only. Then another difference of CH2 will be like this. All these are called homologs. So these can be produced, benzene and homologs of benzene can be produced, which is called aromatization or reforming. And the reaction is very important. This is actually N-hexane. I have written it in this way so that you understand that it is converted to benzene ring. Otherwise, in simplest way, this is N-hexane means a straight chain hydrocarbon, alkane. Okay? In presence of chromic oxide or vanadium oxide or molybdenum oxide at very high temperature, 773 Kelvin, that is 500 degrees Celsius, 550, 500 degrees Celsius, and 10 to 20 atmospheric pressure. Aromatization takes place. It gets converted to benzene. Normally, this is actually CH3, CH2, 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 CH3. This is N-hexane. It is written in this way so that we can understand how it got converted to benzene ring. Memorize this reaction by writing it in your notebook. Very frequently asked in examinations. When we talk about the alkynes, then again there is aromatization reaction there also. So as I said, very few reactions which actually convert a aliphatic compound to aromatic compound. There also one reaction. Ethine can be converted to benzene when passed through red hot iron in that case. Now the question. Toluene is methyl derivative of benzene. Which alkane do you suggest for preparation of toluene? I'm showing you this reaction. When it is N-hexane, you got benzene. The question is, if you need toluene, what should be this compound? This is the question. Tell me the name of that compound in the chat window. Let me see how quickly you got this concept. And as I expect, most of the answers will be wrong. Okay, I'm telling you. You will guess it. I know that. Okay, Karan, you are in the right direction, but as I said, the answer is not correct. Devansh, in right direction, but answer is not correct. Mehak, in right direction, answer is not correct. Keep trying, keep trying. Tell me the answer very quickly. Only three answers, only three brave students who have answered till now. I'm not bothered about whether you answer it wrong or correct. I'm just trying to understand whether you have got the idea or not. Divya, that is just the formula. I'm talking about the name of the compound. Shivangi, yes, in the right direction. As I said, answer is not correct. Now, what you need to see here, we need to check how this is placed. And what we are answering basically, if we use N-heptane, for example, then N-heptane answer will result in like this. This. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It, it will result something like this because we have CH3, CH2, 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 CH3, and this will get attached to this one, ends will get attached. So it will give something like this, which we don't need. We need 6 carbons in the ring, but one branch. So if we need 6 carbons in the ring, the chain has to be of 6 carbons. And the branch can be anywhere. Now, if you join these two ends, you will get toluene. And remember that there are two answers possible because this toluene methyl group, you can attach here or you can attach here. The answer is same thing. Okay? It means whether it is like this or like this, the answer will be same. Although these two compounds are different, the reactants are different. But the answer will be same because you join these two ends. Methyl group can be attached to any one carbon. That will result in toluene. So the answer will be the alkane we need to use will be either 2-methyl hexane or 3-methyl hexane. If you have methyl group here, for example, it is same thing, 3-methyl hexane. If you have methyl group here, not here, it is same thing as 2-methyl hexane. So not going to do. Is that clear? Any confusion? Let me know. Because we need one branch. That's why you need to have branch in the reagent as well, reactant as well. Okay, clear? Okay, so I stop it here, and rest we will cover in the next class. And do let me know where you are facing problems so that I can include in next class.